Dispatch number 21, Allies in Abundance. Can this thing go any faster? Groaned janitor Pro Eric. The low hum of the lone engine powering the space pod was the only thing that the crew had heard in a couple of days after their run-in with the recently deceased Balco. Flying at the rate of simian magma creeping down the side of Mount Aluda, Reimer had purposely turned off the speedometer to prevent him from getting into any more impatient than he already was. No, for the 1,000th time, we can't go any faster. Before you ask again, I can't do anything to fix it. And in a few hours from now, when someone else asks how far we are, I'll tell you that I don't know for the 10th time today, said Reimer. His confidence and energy obviously shot. It had been a long time since any of the crew aboard the escape pod got any sleep. Floating around in the empty darkness was a lone life form from a destroyed planet, kept everyone on edge. While Leroyo had good intentions, the crew could only explain how to play chess so many times without banging their heads against the walls of the pod. Plus, there was this whole turning the other working engine into an ice dagger and destroying a member of the Legion of Wind thing to worry about. We're actually not too far away from Zolteria II's orbit, said Leroyo. We should be able to see the moon's nightlife from quite a distance as soon as it makes another quarter of a revolution. I know this area of the galaxy by hand. Not too much longer. The janitors looked at each other, raising their eyebrows in disbelief. Were they ever going to get out of this dang escape pod? Would they ever be able to get to see sunlight ever again? The disappointment over the last few days was becoming nearly unbearable. So much so that good news was hard to process. All I want to be able to do is lay down in my own bunk in Destiny's Fortune and sleep in peace, said Risk under his breath. I promise I'll never take any of the Commander Vaughn's snacks from the flight deck fridge ever again. So that's who has been talking all the smack packs all this time, said Reimer. Touché, sir. Touché. The janitors chuckled to themselves. It was nice to actually laugh at something other than the revolving door of endless darkness remarks. The escape pod slowly drifted on in search of Zolteria II's orbit path. How many heads does this thing have? Which one should we go for? Shouted Vaughn amidst the roars of Zolterian Cravistor. The 5-headed beast looked like a mutated version of a tiger. It says here in the galaxy log that the Cravistor is one of the most feared beasts in this section of our deer, said Kings Park. It also says that the trick to defeating it is to blast all of its heads into oblivion. Fire! 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 Screamed Vaughn as he pulled back both of his blasters out of their holders and unloaded a worthless barrage of ammo into the beast. The Gravistor seemed to actually enjoy it, the rounds absorbed by its rough, matted hair. Maybe he was getting a little bit of an asteroid shower. Yeah, about that plan, let's try something else, Kings Park, said Commander Sean, as the beast stared at the crew, intently waiting for their next move. The lieutenant cautiously approached the beast, putting one foot in front of the other until he was only a few steps away from being in attack range. I hope you know what you're doing, soldier, said Vaughn hesitantly. As I was saying, said Kingspark, with his back to the crew, the trick to defeating it is to stop trying to kill it. It just thinks that we're playing a game. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but here goes nothing. Kingspark put his blaster back in his holster, looked up at the center of all of the heads of the Cravistor, and started the little bow. The beast emotion completely changed, acknowledging the lieutenant while keeping an eye on the commanders and the rest of the crew. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It seems to be working, said Vaughn, slowly making his way over to join King's Park and bowing to now seemingly the harmless creature. One by one, the crew joined up and respectfully bowed to the mutant giant, each of its heads nodding as if to grant its respect to members of Destiny's Fortune. The Galaxy log's fine print mentions that the Cravistrar is a highly intelligent being, despite its ferocious exterior. Its docile nature only reverts to violence if provoked, but it will only fight if frightened, or in allegiance to those it respects. The Zolterians never fully respected this beast, but ancient scripture states that long ago the Cravistrar fought alongside other species in previous Arderian galaxy wars. This one just looked like it's been through the ringer, said Kings Park, making eye contact with the now calm beast. You got all that by reading a galaxy instruction manual? Said Vaughn. I always just threw away my video game strategy guidebooks without even thinking twice. Shout out to you, fam. Yeah, seriously, you saved us from what could have wound up turning us into mutated immense meat, said Commander Sean. So we just head back to the ship like nothing ever happened? Apparently, we're not even in the right place. Destiny's Fortune sent us new coordinates to the moon of Zolturia II, and that's where the rest of the crew is at this very moment. You don't have to tell me twice, said Vaughn, already making his way back towards the ship. I'm getting out of here before this thing decides that it wants to eat us instead. Before making his way back to the ship with the rest of the crew, King Spark locked eyes with the Cravister and placed a tracking device on the ground in front of the beast. All right, big guy. This is a tracker that'll get my location at all times, said the lieutenant. There are some weird things going on around the galaxy these days. We haven't been here all that long, but I know sketchy when I see sketchy. If we get ourselves into another hairy situation, you think you could possibly answer the call? As if to nod in approval, the Cravister's center of the head locked eyes with King Spark and exhaled what appeared to be a growl of confirmation. The lieutenant nodded, and after giving one final bow to the creature, turned and headed back to join the rest of the crew in making their rendezvous to Zolturia II. Recruits of Destiny's Fortune glued their faces to all available windows of the ship as the crew made their descent on to the ever-awaited moon of Zolturia II. Manning the flight deck, JB eagerly accepted an incoming transmission from Ringbolt and King Aras. We're approaching our destination, my king, said JB. We'll be arriving on Zolturia II momentarily. Good. Thank you for the update, said King Aras, still obviously affected by the countless hours of research he and the Theoluvians had been doing to figure out the Legion of Wind's next move. Ringbolt had now taken over the transmission, sending instructions to Destiny's Fortune before they had touched down. Like I had mentioned previously, the planet of Zolturia was host to a civilization that didn't respect the land passed down to them from previous generations. Pollution, politics, and extremely war-driven mindset caused irreversible damage to their beautiful planet. They've been living on this moon for the last 100 years or so, transforming the non-existent landscape into an extravagant and extremely successful metropolis. There have been rumblings from a source very close to us that have warned of mysterious activity circulating around the metropolis, annual racing event occurring in the next few days. I fear that Nifty and the Wind have already infiltrated the city. With that being said, proceed with great caution. JB nodded, making sure to save his transcript for the rest of the crew to see once they all have met at the assigned rendezvous point. Our point of contact at the rendezvous is a well-known machine tech named Kixstradamus, said King Aras. He'll show you and the crew where to dock, as well as filling you all in on what to expect over the coming days. This is one of the busiest and most rambunctious times of the year for this sector of the galaxy. A perfect opportunity for the Wind to strike in the shadows. Stay vigilant, my friends. JB gave a salute to the king and the Theoluvian leader, closing the transmission just as the ship landed in the docking bay just outside of the center sector of the metropolis. He pressed the loudspeaker button to make an announcement to everyone on board Destiny's Fortune. Recruits! We have successfully landed on the metropolis moon of Zolteria II. We will be here for the next several days, looking for clues relevant to a few key items that the Sivians had sent over to us. There have been rumblings that the Legion of Wen are here. We must remain calm and adhere to the task at hand. Your supervisor will be in touch with more orders and will communicate them to you once the rest of the crew arrives. As always, we fly as one. Thank you. Noticing the irony in his last statement, JB couldn't help but chuckle as he waited for the commanders, Reimer, Risk, and the lieutenants, and the janitors to arrive at their new destination. Things would be back to normal soon, right?
Recruits, it's time for you to choose what you think happens next. Select 1 if Kixtradamus makes a custom boot for a recruit of Destiny's Fortune to enter into the annual Zolturian boot race. Select 2 if Reimer, Risk, Leroyo, and the janitors lose their second engine, sending them into a freefall during their descent onto Zolturia 2. Select 3 if Commander Vaughn gets lost and has an unexpected encounter with Nifty. Head to the Choose Your Own Adventure channel in the Shot to the Moon Discord and discuss your choices with fellow Space Pass holders. Listen to next week's podcast to hear what happens next.